Welcome to the Chrysalis Temple, a sacred portal where the quantum meets the mystical. We awaken timelines, dissolve limits, and embody the frequency of your highest self. So, welcome to the Chrysalis Temple Podcast. On today's episode, we have the lovely, the fabulous, very positive manifestation queen, Vivian, and not only a manifestation coach, but also a podcast host herself and a host of retreats, something we can get into later. So, yeah, welcome. So happy to have you and excited to start this.
Yay, thank you so much for having me. I love that you have your own podcast because I remember one time we were talking about it and I'm like, you need to be on a podcast. So this is like a manifestation, just watching you manifest podcast.
Right? And a full circle coming back around. You starting your podcast, what, like 2 years ago now?
Yes.
And wow, what a journey, right?
What a journey. Incredible journey.
Love that. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for this. Excited to have you, and let's get into it. So, as a manifestation coach, I want to know what got you into manifestation? Where did your journey really begin with all of it?
Yes. So when I was 12 years old, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and my parents took me to every single doctor you could possibly imagine. And we eventually stumbled upon a manifestation coach who taught me so much. And within 3 months, just 3 months, I had no inflammation. I was off all medication. And at 12 years old, I became a little bit obsessed with manifestation. I said, if I can manifest perfect health, what else can I manifest? And so I would go to Barnes and Noble and read every single book on the topic of manifestation, Kabbalah, quantum physics, anything I could get my hands on that would teach me more. And it became a hobby. It became something I just did. And in college, I studied neuroscience and I really understood the science behind manifestation, such as dopamine and how to train your mind to manifest for you, and mirror neurons and rewiring and the way synapses fire. So, having that education, it was really easy for me to speak to anybody about manifestation, whether they were into spirituality or the sciences and more logical
Mhm.
type of mindsets. And then from there, during the pandemic, during COVID-19, one of my friends would call me all of the time and she would just complain all day. And she was one of my best friends and I couldn't handle it anymore, but I loved her. And so I said, listen, I'm going to give you some journal prompts to go figure out. And once you figure that out. Once you do all of that, then you can call me. Then you can call me again. And 2 weeks went by and she hadn't called me, but she kept sending me messages saying, like, oh my goodness, the breakthroughs I'm having and all the things. And then she ended up manifesting her soulmate. And now she has two children. She's pregnant with her third. And basically, word of mouth, people would just call me up and say, I heard what you did for so and so. I need you to help me with this and that and the other thing.
Mhm.
And I remember getting that first call, and I was just like, I'm so sorry. I cannot help you. I am not a manifestation coach. I'm in real estate. She said, please, I'll pay you anything you want. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, but I'm not a manifestation coach. She said, please, 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 just send me a Zoom link. Help me like you did for her. She said, okay. And after that, she was my first client. I got my second client through word of mouth from her. And then one day I was out for a walk with my dog and my friend and his dog. And it hit me, oh my gosh, I want to lead a healing retreat. So, right when I said that, an old friend who was in my former book club that I was hosting before I was journeying with VRD, she happened to message me, hey, I just opened an Airbnb in upstate New York. If you would like to use it, you can. Gave me a crazy great price. And I held my first retreat there, and everything kind of fell into place.
Wow. Wow, what an incredible story. From starting at such a young age to going really deep and just, how everything unravels, getting you to this point. Incredible. Um, so I kind of want to get into a little bit deeper into manifestation. So you have a lot of knowledge on manifestation, not only from a spiritual side, but from the scientific side as well, which is incredible, where you can really truly merge the spiritual and the scientific and bring them into one perfect coherence, right? But I want to get in a little bit deeper into really the energetics, right? The spiritual, I guess, a little bit more of the spiritual side. I guess it's both, really. So let's get into how does energy, right, vibration and frequency, how does that play a role in manifesting?
Such a great question. So, you'll hear a lot in the manifestation or even spiritual healing world. All you have to do is raise your vibration. All you have to do is raise your frequency and you'll manifest the thing. When the truth of the matter, in very scientific terms, all it means to raise your vibration, the energetics behind it, is raising your self worth. Every single thing that you want is quote unquote vibrating at a higher level of safe self-worth. Everything vibrates. Everything has a certain frequency to it, which is like a hertz, like a sound that we don't necessarily hear with our human ears. And high self-worth, or higher than where you're at, vibrates at a higher frequency than where you're at. As you raise your level of self-worth, you actually manifest more and more of the things that you want. So looking at your life and the areas in which you're excelling, those are typically the areas where you have higher self-worth. And the areas in which it's taking you longer to manifest, or you haven't manifested the thing, are usually the places, actually always the places, where you have lower self-worth. We don't manifest from our conscious mind. We actually manifest from our subconscious beliefs. So, although we can say all day long, I am a billionaire or I am married to my soulmate, if your subconscious beliefs, okay, and these are the beliefs we pick up between ages 0 to 7, 0 to 14, if I'm being generous, if these are not in alignment with what you're consciously calling in, then you're in misalignment. You're not going to manifest it. So, it's really a game. Manifestation is a game of self worth, raising it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And on that topic, then, I want to get into the nervous system because you've mentioned that already. And that's one of the favorite things I love to talk about as well. That you cannot just repeat the affirmation, a million times, 1,000 times if you are not regulated in your nervous system. So I want to get into that a little bit. How does that embodiment piece together with your nervous system play in how you manifest or how you can manifest easily? Because we're always manifesting, just sometimes the things that we don't really want. So how do we manifest the things that we do want with this embodiment and nervous system?
Yes. So if your nervous system is shot or it is stuck in fear or fight and flight, you are closed off to your manifestation.
Mm.
Okay. So, especially when we've been living a life on autopilot, what happens is our body feels that we are unsafe and takes control. The moment we ask ourselves the question consistently every single morning, how do I feel in my body today? The body can breathe and relax and know that you are now off autopilot, not just letting life happen to you, but taking the reins of your life, and it can calm down. Now, when we call in big things, what happens is our nervous system tightens up. Why? Because we are in fear. We don't know what to expect on the other side since we've never manifested it before. We've never experienced it. And so it's really important to prepare the nervous system for the manifestation so that we're not closed off and instead we can really open up to the thing. We do this by showing the mind, seeing to believe what gets to happen after we make that scary decision. For example, let's say you're on a diet and you're like, I really want to eat the chocolate cake. But then you show your mind that if you don't eat the chocolate cake, you'll feel better in your body. You might not feel sick or whatever it is. What's going to happen is your nervous system is now prepped. It gets to be excited. Oh my goodness, we're going to feel healthy afterwards. And it's saw to believe what is possible for you on the other end of making this hard decision, quote unquote, when really the decision is just not familiar. Now, here's the other funny piece to this. We must show the mind what is possible for us. Okay. We must show the mind. So it's really important to envision
Hmm.
the result of taking the action that might not feel comfortable because that's how we make a feeling even greater. What's funny is fear and excitement, there's no difference to the brain. They both have the same impact on our nervous system. Okay. When we're excited, our heart races. When we're in fear, our heart races. We might get sweaty hands for both of them. Our brain doesn't know the difference. So the key in manifestation and in calming the nervous system is to be neutral around the thing. We don't want to be too excited because, again, our nervous system will be closed off, just like it would be in fear. So it is an interesting piece to all of this.
Right, right. I see where I see where you're getting to that. So, do you have some maybe practical kind of advice right now that you would give someone to start to manifest from, a deeper alignment instead of fear or lack, right? Since we got into this whole fear thing already, that I forget what you were saying, but it's gonna come to me. We got into it. I know that we did. So how do we get like? Can you give some practical tips? Because we're talking about, once again, aligning. You said in your mind's eye and the connection with the body. Is there some things that you would suggest for the body, like practical tips on how to bring the body like to physically feel safe, not
Yeah.
just through visualization?
So there's a few ways. One is to feel the feeling without putting a meaning. Okay. Practicing this is so crucial because once we put a meaning to a feeling, we're often looking for blame. And when we look for blame, we create a story. And the more we create a story, the more we relive the story. Think about how many people you want to tell it to. Not only are we reliving the story, we're putting ourselves in victim. And when we're in victim, it's poor me. And what happens to poor people? They don't get, they don't receive, they don't manifest the shit out of their lives. So, we don't want to get into victim mode and we don't want to blame and we don't want to repeat story. Instead, we feel the feeling without putting meaning. We place a hand on the heart, hand on the belly, and just let. If we need to cry, give ourselves time to cry. If we need to laugh, just laugh. Without
Mm.
putting a meaning to the feeling, it's just knowing it's our emotional body just doing its thing. It's emotions in movement. That's all an emotion is. We don't have to put a meaning to a feeling. Feelings are not indicative of our reality or our progress. We can feel like shit, but our life can be amazing. And we could feel like we're doing a bad job when we're really doing incredible. So the first thing is first, our feelings are not indicative of our progress. Feel the feeling without putting a meaning. And the second thing I'm going to say is you will begin to feel safe in your body the moment you check in with yourself.
Mhm.
One journal prompt I absolutely love journaling every single morning is how do I feel in my body today? It's that simple, right? Just checking in and knowing, connecting the mind with the body. It's
Mhm.
that simple, asking yourself that question. I'll give a third tip just for fun. Going to the bathroom, taking after a shower, taking a really hot washcloth, starting with the top of your head, just telling yourself, I love you. Then running it under the hot water again, putting it over your face, telling yourself, I love you. And going all the way down the body doing that. What the hot towel represents is a hug, and we release serotonin, and it makes us feel really safe in the body.
I love that one. I've never heard that one before.
Hmm.
Um, so thank you for that. I love the not giving the name to the feeling, which is pretty much right, like just allowing the emotions to flow through, right? Like you said, without the blame, without anything. It's just there and it's there for a reason, and letting it pass through is how we really truly um yeah, like letting it flow through the body instead of keeping it in, because once we focus on, oh, this is what I'm feeling, it becomes not only as a story and a loop that keeps going around, right, and putting you into victim mode, it's getting stuck within the physical body as well as energy that becomes trapped later on. So
Hmm.
uh love that. And the journal prompt, yeah, that's a good way to really start the day and get yourself going right away before any kind of things start. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to also kind of get in. So what if you're journaling and you do feel like, you know what? I don't feel good in the body. How do you turn that around quickly?
So I think there's a common misconception that is like you can't have uncomfortable feelings, but the more that you could get comfortable with the uncomfortable, the
Mhm.
quicker you're going to manifest in general. Because you have to remember that every single thing that you're currently calling in is going to feel unfamiliar, and unfamiliar by default is uncomfortable.
Sure.
And what usually pushes our manifestation away is the fear of actually receiving it, that uncomfortable feeling of having it. That's why many people, when they manifest, they lose the manifestation. They don't keep it. And so, if a negative emotion or uncomfortable emotion comes up, again, not putting a meaning to it, not telling yourself that your whole, like it's indicative of your progress and how your life actually is. You're allowed to feel negative emotions. What I'm asking people to do is not put their self-worth in how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
the quicker that you could get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable
Yeah.
is the faster you'll grow and
Yeah.
manifest.
So another thing I want to get into is a little bit because we're getting deeper and deeper into this with this when emotions come up and the emotions tied to or stories tied to the emotions that we feel that puts us into this lack and we're getting into the limiting beliefs, right? The
Mhm.
subconscious mind that pretty much rules our what 95% of our daily lives where we're working on autopilot. So a big thing that people usually struggle with when it comes to manifesting and doing these things is these limiting beliefs because, well, the programs that have been instilled, like you said, from 0 to 7, what you believe about the world. So how do you help your clients to really break these patterns? In what ways? Like, what's your maybe like kind of special approach? What do you do to really rewire these things to get the synapses firing in different ways?
So is the question, how do I help people rewire
With
limiting beliefs?
limiting beliefs, yes, with limiting beliefs.
Okay, so in order to rewire any limiting belief, you have to become aware of your beliefs in general. And so if somebody's currently calling in, let's say love, right? We look at what love and romance look like in the household between ages 0 to 7, 0 to 14, if we're being generous. I'll also ask them to give me 20 beliefs they have around love, real, raw, honest beliefs. And what will usually come up is I'm unlovable, or being in a committed relationship means I lose my freedom and it feels like prison because I have to, and all these things come up. And then we get to rewire them by expanding our subconscious to see, to believe what's possible for us. We don't have to do and be the same as our past or our parents. A beautiful example is I just had two clients here. And she was saying how she truly believes that the man should make all the money, that the man should be paying the bills, paying the house, doing all the things. She's like in her 40s, and I said, listen, I think what you're, and she knows, she's like, I know that I can make the money. I know that I could do all these things, but I just think it should be from the man. And she had this limiting belief because she wants to make hundreds and thousands, she wants to make 100K a month, which is
Mhm.
completely possible. I have clients who make more than that a month. She wants to make 100K a month, but she's hitting a wall every single time she makes money, it leaves. She has a bill to pay. And so I said, okay, well, why are you still telling yourself the story that you really believe it's your husband that should be making this money? She's like, because that's what I saw as a child. My father paid for everything. I said, let me tell you something. When your parents when you were young, your mother, she wasn't legally allowed to have her own bank account. Okay? It had to be signed off by a man. She legally couldn't have a credit card without it being under her husband.
Mhm.
And so, for survival instincts, what happened back in the day is women got married and they wanted to get married to wealthy people so that they had some sort of good life and guarantee was an insurance. And in exchange, because legally they weren't allowed to have their own money, and the only jobs they could have were nurses and secretaries for the most part. They ended up being housewives, right? They ended up slaving away in the kitchen, taking care of the kids, not necessarily because they wanted to or have a choice, but because they had to, because there was no other option. Okay? And so if you want to compare yourself to your parents, why don't you start slaving away in the kitchen? Instead of paying for somebody to clean your house, why don't you? I want you to remove all the TVs in your house and put them in black and white because you want to be just like your parents. I want you to live like them. And she's
Mhm.
like, why would I ever do that? I'm like, why would you ever limit yourself from making 100,000 months
Mhm.
just because you want your husband to do what your dad did. It was a very different time and a very different
Right.
situation.
Right.
And it clicked for her. She's like, oh my gosh, I don't want that. I'm so grateful that I have the freedom to be, do, or have whatever the fuck I want, and that I get to make 100K a month. And I get to keep it because I get to provide for my family, which is a gift and something we couldn't do like literally less than 40, maybe 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
But maybe less than that. The point is that a lot of the times we pick up beliefs that we're not even aware of,
Mhm.
okay? And we cling to them. And the best part about beliefs is that at any given moment, you can completely shift out of them and take on a new belief. So after we look into the beliefs of the person and my clients, we then choose consciously 20 new beliefs. But that's not enough. You have to take action on the new belief in order to really anchor into the belief and embody it. We don't manifest based off what we want. We manifest based off who we are. So once we shift the belief, we must take action on it. So for her, and into entering money freedom, financial freedom, she's opening her first ever high yield savings account. So, yes.
All right. Well, that seems like a really step-by-step approach, and I really love that. Especially like you said, just the um taking action on the new beliefs, creating, right, once again, those new neural connections in order to fire it and wire it in a new way. That's absolutely amazing. Love that. Also, then I want to get into a little bit about what do you, because right now we're getting deep into the manifestation, and uh it's really popular now, right? It's mainstream. Everywhere you look, there's all these things when it comes to manifestation. When you started, I'm sure it wasn't as popular, as blown up as it is right now, and it's become so mainstream that there is a lot of probably misconceptions around manifestation.
Hmm.
uh let's address a few of those. What kind of misconceptions have you seen that you would really like to get cleared up? Like, that's not what manifestation is. That's not
Okay. I have a couple.
yeah.
One, that you can manifest for somebody else. You can't. There's something called free will, and everybody has the ability to choose for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll have moms be like, I want to manifest my son going to NYU or to Ivy League school. And I'm like, well, you can't. Or I want to manifest dating this specific person. You can't do that because the other person has free will and choice. So that's one. The other thing is I'll have a lot of people be like, I visualize my life and it's not come true. And that's because visualization, first of all, most people visualize in the future. And if you continue to visualize into the future, you're just pushing your manifestation away because right now is the only time that exists. Second of all, it's not enough to just see. There's also the believing aspect, which is why you have to take action, aligned action. There's actually three things that you need in order to manifest. And I just wrote this out today, which is expanding, unblocking, and taking aligned action. You have to see to believe what's possible for you. You have to rewire the limiting beliefs and you have to take action. This isn't a linear process per se, but it is a process of the dance of manifesting. I'm doing all of them at once, kind of. Having the desire. I really do believe that like every single thing that we want is a seed planted within us from God, from source. And to not follow these desires is almost pushing source and God away. Okay. And people say, why is God ignoring me? God's not listening to me. It's you're literally doubting God every single time you say that you're not good enough or you are unlovable or whatever it is that you can't be, do, or have, whatever you're calling in. If God chose you to have this want, it's obviously meant for you to go take action on. So taking the aligned action on the desire is key. It's not enough to just visualize. Visualizing isn't going to get you anywhere. And then I guess the third is when I hear people say manifestation is magic, it's woo woo. It's actually very scientific, and there's a I at least have a 5 step direct process on this.
um I love that. Yeah, it's such a mix of, that's kind of, I think, what I want to get into next as well, that you brought this up perfectly. I love everything that you've shared,
Thank
your
you.
processes, and especially bringing together, the once again, the spiritual, the energy, the woo woo, and an actual scientific based method to it, which is incredible. But now I also want to get into a little bit, well, how do you, because we've talked about taking aligned action. Taking
Mhm.
an aligned action is like, more of a masculine energy. And I want to talk about this, blending this balance and harmony between masculine and feminine energy when it comes to manifestation, because there is a process. It's not like that it's complete magic, and it's not just the scientific. It's a blend of that magic and that science that creates that, at least what I believe. And it's that, blending of the masculine and the feminine. And I want to, and at least I feel and see that from you, the way I see you leading and doing things, that you put this blend of both of these. So I want you to kind of, get into that. How do you blend both of these energies in harmony and balance to
Yeah,
your methods?
for sure. So, receiving is a very feminine thing. Okay. I'm going to bring it to the bedroom for a second. The woman is always the receiver. Okay. We are also the carrier of life. Okay. Meaning, once a seed is put into us, once the idea is putting it into us, it's our job to birth it. Okay. So, manifestation is very much a feminine energy thing. We lean into our femininity, not so like let's say if God being the masculine or the source being the masculine inserts the seed, the desire, the want in us, just like the man in seeds, plants his whatever. So anyway, it comes within us and we get to birth the idea. We get to sit with it in our solar plexus and really get detailed, crystal clear about it, what we want it to look like, what we want it to feel like. And then we take the aligned action part, which is the masculine, right? It is going to be a balance. And following through is going to be a balance. So it's not enough to just say you want something and, dream about it all day, even though that's huge. You have to be crystal clear, but you also have to take the aligned action because that's part of the rebirth, right? When we take the aligned action, what we're telling the universe is we're no longer who we used to be. We're actually claiming this new identity. And it's part of birthing. So although taking action can feel masculine, birth is all feminine, right? We do that as the women. And I'm also not necessarily speaking about masculine and feminine as male or female, but I am saying that receiving is feminine. So when we get into the control, the how it's going to happen, how the patience, like the impatience, oh my God, it's not happening right now. That's more of the masculinity, not being in trust. Okay. The feminine knows, like, I'm good. I'm great. Like I'm cooking this baby for 9 months, Like I
Yeah.
know at the end of this it's gonna come out and it's gonna be beautiful because I'm taking the aligned steps. I'm nurturing this manifestation. I'm making sure I'm okay. And then at the end, okay, the trust and receiving is a feminine thing. I like to really explain this part of the manifestation process like this. When you make an Amazon order, you do not call Amazon facilities and be like, hey, did you receive my order?
Mhm.
Did you put it in the box yet? Did you ship it? Hello, right? You know that in 1 to 2 business days, you're gonna have your Amazon order,
Mhm.
right? And the feminine is in that trust. The feminine completely knows that that order's coming through. She doesn't have to check a million times to see, okay, hello, when is it coming? Did they get the order? She doesn't have to do that. The masculine energy gets in the way when it's like, all right, is it ready yet? Is it here? Do we need to call Amazon? Like, and starts asking all the questions. So it's really important to have both because we need that masculine energy to plant the seed within us so that like even cultivating an idea is masculine,
Mm.
right? And taking aligned action is a mix of both. It's both having that motivation, courage, and strength to go do the thing that's unfamiliar, maybe even a little bit scary, but it is the feminine that decides to take on this rebirth. So it's a balance.
Yes, it's a balance. And now, something just popped into my head from this, when you said, you don't call Amazon and check in, and did you put it in the box? Did you ship it? All of that. So it kind of brought me to the, idea of, like, when we place an order on Amazon, we have all the confirmations, and it now kind of to this. How do you, when you're manifesting and you're in the middle and you're in the trusting process, right? You're in that feminine energy. You want to you're receiving, you're there. And how do you, what could be like confirmations like, oh, I know it's coming. Like, I know. Because we have to
You
like,
know it's coming if two things are happening. A, you're doing the daily practice.
mm-hmm,
Okay. So in my 5 step signature manifestation process, it's basically getting crystal clear, taking inventory. You're not starting for nothing. There's things that are already working for you. The purge, which is like the death, getting rid of all the things that you've been saying yes to that you wish you were saying no to, and vice versa, and not shrinking yourself to make somebody else feel bigger.
mm-hmm,
Then we have the rebirth, which is all about taking on the habits of the self that already has the manifestation. And then 5, we have the daily practice and the manifestation. So if you're still doing the things, continuing to say no to the things that you were saying yes to, continuing to raise your level of self worth, then you know the manifestation has to come through because you are literally vibrating at the same frequency of the thing. The daily practice is usually something that I give to my clients that's specific to them for their manifestation. So
mm-hmm,
continuing to grow that trust muscle. So you'll know your manifestation is coming in if you're getting tested, right? And all tests are, or triggers, is the universe showing you where you still have work to do. So the more you're getting triggered, the more you're like doing the work, the more you're going to clear the space for the manifestation to come in.
mm-hmm.
So that's how you'll know.
Okay. Okay. That's a I like I like that. I like that. I like that. So, I also want to get into now your biggest, most wow manifestation.
Such a good question. Because while I was on the retreat, I facilitated a manifestation retreat in Miami last week. And one of the girls, actually one of the women asked me, Vivian, like, what's your biggest manifestation? The truth is my whole life, okay? Healing my Crohn's disease, marrying the love of my life, manifesting my an incredible apartment in New York City with the biggest stars I've ever seen, with the view of the Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building, manifesting my dog, like I manifest all day, every day, manifesting my business. I mean, I turned Journey with VRD into multi six-figure business within like 3 years. Like I've done incredible things. But I guess really my biggest manifestation, I mean, these are all huge, incredible manifestations. It's hard to pick just one, is creating a process where every single one of my clients who follow the 5 signature steps manifest the shit out of their lives. Like I just had a client who manifested a trip to Italy. She manifested a whole new friend group. I have another client who hasn't dated in years. She's dating. She's dating the same guy. Like that's incredible for her. So I think just seeing other people do my process and manifesting the shit out of their lives is the prize, is the biggest thing. That I
Mm.
found a system that works on repeat and is unfoolproof.
So really like
It is foolproof.
you're manifesting like really truly living your purpose and mission that you came here to do because if it came to you this process you channeled it, it's working, it's it's part of your mission, part of your purpose. That's incredible. I love that. And I also want to get in a little bit more about the work that you do because you do so many incredible things.
Thank you.
Like your podcast, your business, how much it has shifted, transformed, like you said, within 3 years, how much you've been able to achieve. So really, give us all the details, the retreats you're hosting. I know this is, the last week is not the first retreat, so let's hear a little bit about all of that, all the incredible
Yes.
things you do.
So I do one-on-one coaching, private coaching,
Mhm.
either 3 or 6 month journeys where we manifest the shit out of your life. We do all the unblocking. We go through the 5 step process. It's really catered to you. My coaching is very luxurious. It's not just the coaching doesn't end after the call. You have access to me Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, where I'll give you tasks. And the tasks are really literal little things to help you collapse time and manifest even quicker. Okay, it's really incredible. And I do really believe that's why so many of my clients manifest the shiz out of their lives really quickly. So I do that, and that's huge. But starting January 1st, I'm going to be focusing more on groups.
Mm.
Just because luckily, thank goodness, like I have so many clients. We're gonna have to start a waiting list soon. And I think the best way to help even more people is to do it in groups. So if you are wanting to do a one-on-one session with me, you should definitely, like if you want to have a private journey with me, I definitely suggest you message me before January 1st. And you can find me on Instagram at Journey with VRD. I have my podcast, Visions, Missions, and Manifestations, on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. We are on season 3. What I love so much about the podcast is that people become expanded by the different healers, leaders, teachers that have done incredible things in this world. I do believe that not everything works for everyone. And so it is crucial for everybody to hear a different perspective, a different take with a different culture and a different background on healing and spirituality and transcendence. So the Visions, Missions, and Manifestations podcast really is the number one place for spirituality, healing, and transcendence, and to expand your mind into seeing what's possible for you specifically. I do facilitate retreats. We did just do the Miami manifestation retreat. What's so incredible about the retreats is that we spend 3 nights excessively diving deep into manifestation. So it's a fast track for your manifestation process. Again, where we're collapsing the time it takes because you're really just honing in on those 3 days and really working through what you're working through. So people in this retreat, they're manifesting 100K months, they're becoming thought leaders, they're taking up stages, they're manifesting their soulmates. So it was really high achievers on this retreat.
Mhm.
And then February 1st, it's a Sunday, I'll be giving a manifestation talk to 100 people in New York City. Today is actually the last day to get 10% off your tickets using the code JVRD Live, but maybe I'll extend it to whenever this podcast episode comes out.
Yeah, yeah. I'll see where we can get through with the episode, for sure. But yeah.
Okay, so then, so that's my next event is the manifestation talk I'm giving in New York City with a bunch of other healers, leaders, and teachers who will be there to meet everybody who comes in. And in that talk, you'll learn my signature process, and you'll really leave with a direct roadmap on how to manifest anything you want in this life.
Mhm.
So, and you will unblock your shadow and build so much. So, for yourself and your confidence and your subconscious mind. So that's going to be something you're not going to want to miss. But that's really what I do. Really what I
That's a
do.
lot already. It's
I
like,
know.
wow. So I'll have all of your socials, your podcast also listed where people can find you, listen in to all the incredible people that you have on there as well. And yeah, all the rest of the information will be linked there. Something else I quickly want to get into
Yes.
because you've mentioned it a few times, and I'm like, yeah, we gotta talk about this. You mentioned collapsing timelines.
Yes.
Take us through that because I think right now it's also quite a popular topic, getting into the quantum physics mechanics of really truly how does that look like to collapse timelines?
Okay. So every single version of you exists in this world. And the quickest way to quantum leap into the lifetime that you're desiring is to make big choices and big decisions. When you make a big decision and you take the action behind it, you really collapse time. So I'll give you guys a personal example. In October, early October, I was like, I'm ready for my next big thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so someone's like, well, why don't you give a manifestation talk to 100 people? And my first thought was like, why? And then I realized I could reach more people that way and I could be expanded and help others expand as well. And so I did it. Where most people would be scared, I took that fear and I said, I'm going to do it anyway. And I collapsed the time it took for me to get on a stage and become the thought leader that I always was born to be. So making big decisions is the quickest way to collapse time, as well as up leveling the people that you surround yourself with.
Mm.
Never be the smartest person in the room. Surround yourself with people that you want to be like, who have the things that you're manifesting. Instead of getting jealous, get curious. How did they get there? What are the things that they're doing? Something else I do that really helps me collapse time is I have like three different mentors that I see, that I pay to see, because they expand my mind and they teach me. Just like nobody would ever want to go to a doctor who stopped learning once they got their license to be a doctor. You don't want to hire a coach that or a therapist or anybody really who stopped learning the moment they got their license. I'm constantly learning and growing and teaching. And as I up level, my clients up level because I get to trickle that information down to them. So yes, that's what I got to say on timelines.
Yeah, incredible, incredible. I think that's quite a different approach from what I've usually heard. And I really actually love the approach that you used to collapse the timelines, like making a really big decision to collapse it. Yeah, incredible. Really. So thank you so much for this. For the tips and also anything else that you would really want to uh leave us with, right? Some maybe key principles that people can take in to
Hmm.
become conscious creators for themselves.
Yeah. Love yourself. Love yourself so hard. Become aroused by yourself, by your reflection, by who you are. If you love yourself truly, your confidence will be there. Your self-worth will be there. When you do things in the name of love, the possibilities are endless and the world is your oyster. So do whatever you can to come back to yourself and to incredibly just like douse yourself in love. That's my message. Love yourself.
Love that. And this just reminds me, just last week, I also had this whole thing come through about it was about really becoming obsessed with yourself. Like that love and that obsession, right? Instead of taking it to someone else, becoming so obsessed with yourself to the point where you stop to leaking your energy, right? When you level up and love yourself so much, you don't give away your energy to outside sources. You cultivate that energy within that helps you to really propel forward.
Hmm.
I love that. I
Thank
love
you.
that so much. So thank you so much for this. It's really truly amazing to have you on here today. I think, we got into really deep topics and so fast and in such a methodical way, yet very scientifically. So I absolutely love that. And I love to see women leaders. I think, the time has come for more and more women to really get into leadership positions and
A hundred percent.
live life on their terms and really truly be happy.
Yeah, 100%. Agreed. Mic drop.
Yes, so thank you so much. Um, yeah, until next
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
until next
Okay.